an ancient cult so infamous for their mass human sacrifices that they were even mentioned in the Bible, a mysterious nomadic cult who specialized in boiling bird heads, and the deadliest criminal organization in India. These are more evil ancient cults they tried to erase from history. The Cult of Moloch is one of the darkest and most chilling in history. Moloch was a god worshipped by ancient civilizations, especially in the Phoenician and the Canaanite regions, and is most famous for the horrific rituals followers carried out in his name. Moloch is often depicted as a giant bull with a hollow body where sacrifices would be made. The cult practiced human sacrifice, especially on the young, where parents would offer their own offspring to Moloch in exchange for favors or blessings. Usually what would happen is the victim would be placed into the hands of a metal idol, which would then be heated up till it burnt the person alive. The practice was so brutal and widespread that it became notorious in ancient history. Even the Bible felt the need to bring it up, condemning it as a sin. And that's when you know you've messed up. In 2019, archaeologists in Egypt discovered a mysterious temple at the ancient port of Berenike along the Red Sea. The temple had an Egyptian design, but it was used by a group called the Belamis, not Egyptians. But this semi-nomadic group had adopted Egyptian religious practices, and the temple was dedicated to the Egyptian god Khonsu, a falcon-headed deity. There was a very ominous inscription found inside the temple, which translated to something along the lines of, "It is improper to boil a head in here." Keywords being in here. You can boil a head anywhere else. Turns out the Belamis had a strange ritual involving falcon heads. Now, not much is known about this group. We don't know if they ever sacrificed humans, but they did for sure boil the heads of birds, likely falcons, before offering them to Khonsu. The Thuggee Cult aren't just a made-up group from Indiana Jones. This was a real cult that existed in India from around the 14th to the 19th century. The thugs, as they were called, were essentially professional killers who worshipped the Hindu goddess Kali. They disguised themselves as travelers and gained the trust of unsuspecting victims, often pilgrims, before strangling them with a ceremonial cloth. The cult believed that by offering these deaths to the goddess, they would be rewarded with her protection and blessings. The thugs went to great lengths to avoid detection, using clever tricks and often hiding bodies to make it harder for authorities to track them. It wasn't until the British colonial forces in India took notice and cracked down on them in the 19th century that the full scale of their activities came to light. It turned out the Thuggee were responsible for the deaths of thousands, if not more, making them one of the deadliest cults in history. Set, or Seth, is an ancient Egyptian god often associated with chaos, storms, violence, and disorder. While Set was worshipped by some during ancient Egyptian times, his cult was considered one of the most sinister, especially when you consider his reputation as the god of destruction. Set's worshippers were typically seen as rebels or outcasts. During the time of the New Kingdom, there were different movements that sought to elevate Set's status, especially during the reign of the pharaoh Akhenaten, who had been pushing for the worship of Aten, a different god. But supporters of Set resisted. The cult was known to carry out dark practices like necromancy. Set himself was depicted as a god who was always in conflict with other gods, particularly Osiris, and he was believed to have been responsible for the death of Osiris. His worship involved not just the typical offerings to a god, but also darker, more secretive rituals that often revolved around creating chaos and destruction. Hecate was a goddess in ancient Greek and Roman mythology, associated with witchcraft, magic, necromancy, and the night. Cults centered around her weren't as widely practiced as some other gods, but it still had a significant impact on ancient society. Hecate was often depicted as a goddess with 3 heads, symbolizing her dominion over crossroads, the underworld, and the skies. The cults surrounding her involved rituals that were often secret and centered around dark magic. Worshippers were believed to engage in sorcery, and some ancient texts also talk about her followers using potions and spells rituals to summon spirits, control the dead, or curse their enemies. People who were part of Hecate's worship were said to have carried out a lot of the rituals at crossroads at night, as those were seen as liminal places that connected the living world to the spiritual. Many of these practices bordered on the forbidden, involving BLOOD, sacrifices, curses, and other dark rituals. It was believed that through Hecate's power, they could manipulate fate itself. The Black Hand was a secret military society founded in 1901 in Serbia, mostly made up of Serbian nationalists. Their main goal was to unite all South Slavic territories, especially those under the control of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, with the Kingdom of Serbia. And how were they going to do that? Through political violence. They operated in secret with a deep sense of loyalty among their members. The Black Hand is most infamously known for its involvement in the death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Austria in 1914, which is often seen as the spark that set off World War I. The killing of Ferdinand set off this chain of events, leading Austria-Hungary to declare war on Serbia, which then triggered alliances and ultimately pulled most of Europe into a full-scale war. The Order of Skull and Bones is one of the oldest and most famous secret societies in the United States. To the chagrin of many of its members, I'm sure, people just tend to not trust you very much when they find out you're part of a secret society full of wealthy elites. Founded in 1832 at Yale University, it was originally called the Brotherhood of Death. The society has always been mysterious, but its members are some of the most influential people in the world, including 2 US presidents, the Bush family. Membership is exclusive, and only a select few students at Yale are invited to join each year. They gather in a building known as the Tomb, where they meet twice a week for secret rituals that are said to be inspired by Freemasonry. As for exactly what happens in these rituals, that's for them to know and them to hide. There are plenty of conspiracy theories surrounding the group, though, one of the most popular being that it helped shape the CIA. In 2007, the CIA even issued a statement denying any connection to the group, but I mean, who the hell is gonna just take their word for it? Next up is the Priory of Sion. The secret society, founded in 1099, is surrounded by both mystery and controversy. It's not even entirely certain whether this group is real or not. Some people believe it was a hoax invented by a man named Pierre Plantard in 1956, who wanted to claim the French throne. Others think the Priory of Sion is a genuine ancient organization. The group's story is tied to ideas about royal bloodlines, with claims that certain members are descendants of King David and even Jesus. The Priory's goal, according to some theories, is to establish a new European empire that would bring peace and prosperity to the world and eventually create a new world order. Priory of Sion gained widespread attention after the release of the book The Holy BLOOD and the Holy Grail in 1982, which suggested that famous figures like Isaac Newton and Leonardo da Vinci were involved in the group. The society's true purpose, if it really did exist, is still a mystery, and some believe that the rumors about it being a hoax were deliberately spread to keep people from uncovering its secrets. In the 60s, a survey team came across some very strange rectangular stone structures in northwestern Saudi Arabia. These structures, later called Mustaliel, weren't seen as anything particularly significant at first, but as more were discovered, it became clear that they were part of a much larger ancient cult. Thousands of Mustaliel structures have been found across an area about the size of Poland, and some are incredibly large, even bigger than the Eiffel Tower. The structures date back over 7,000 years, making them older than the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge. They're believed to have been used for ritual purposes, with many of them containing animal skulls that were likely part of some sacrificial ceremonies. Just skulls though, no other body parts have been found, which means that the sacrifices would have likely happened somewhere else, otherwise we'd have the rest of the bones. What is clear though, is that this group, whoever they were, carried out their practices over a very large area. Göbekli Tepe is a fascinating archaeological site in Turkey that dates back around 11,000 years. It's known for its huge stone pillars and intricate carvings, but there's a lot that researchers don't know about the place. First of all, there's no clear evidence that people actually lived at the site, even though it kind of looks like a place people lived, and no graves have been found there. But human bones have been discovered, just not in the types of states you'd expect. They've found pieces of skulls that appear to have been carved into or altered deliberately. Some historians think this could be evidence of a cult-like group at Göbekli Tepe, though no one can say for sure what the purpose of their rituals would have been. The other strange thing is that the skulls were more crudely carved compared to the more impressive art and architecture found at other parts of the site. It's possible that the skulls were marked or disfigured as part of some sort of ritual or punishment, but no one can say for sure. With all that said, I've been your host James, and I will catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.